2 years.
Hôi! Getting a lot of Eurovision specials today, holy shit. Hello! Good afternoon, losers. How's it going? It's so warm. It's so muggy. I'm already done with the weather. It's not even summer yet. It's actually not even summer yet. But here we are. I'm already seeing a lot of the tweets. A lot of the tweets of the Brits complaining how we're getting heat waves now. And everyone responding, oh, it's not really that hot. Over here, in Satan's asshole, it's like 300 degrees Celsius every day. Well, good for you over in Satan's asshole. I can't deal with this weather. When you moved to Satan's asshole, you knew what you were getting into. When I was born in the UK, I was hoping for rain every day. No, there's the sun. And then occasional rain, which makes it hard to breathe when the sun comes up because it's really humid. And I don't have gills, so I can't breathe, you know? Anyway, expect a lot more of that the hotter it gets. Unfortunately, it is in my blood. We just complain. We complain about everything. Too cold, too warm, too wet, too dry. That's just the British in me. It's the British way. So, yeah, that's probably how it's gonna be. But hello, happy Curry Saturday. I hope everything is going well. Good job on surviving through the week. I hope you enjoyed your Friday. I hope you're having a lovely Saturday. Don't really have anything explicit planned today. I did drop the announcement for the, charity event. Hello? On the 6th of June. That's in the announcements if you could take the time to go and look at that. I've been using the Everyone ping a lot lately. I do apologize for that, but this one was for charity, so you know, it's a good thing. I tried to include basically I have a little bit of a day planned for that, and I'm trying to include all of the suggestions. I didn't put details, so I was gonna have like a mini goal. Like, as I said, it's not gonna be something so extravagant because it's literally like a pop-out little bit of charity fundraising. But I am gonna put a miniature goal on there to have the mods play a single solo player game, crowd controlled. We haven't quite decided what games they want to play each, so that's Goat and Winter. We're gonna get crowd control set up on their PC, have them stream it to me, and you guys can watch them on my channel, I guess, since you seem to be very excited for that. But we can yap a bit more after I've said my hellos. So let me just we'll get that out of the way. One second. Okay, let me say my hellos. So, hello clarinets, congratulations on being voiced. Hello Succumbia, hello clarinet. Sorry, I already said hello clarinets. You get a second hello, I guess. Succumbia, thank you so much for the tier 1 resub. Happy 2-year anniversary. Thank you so much for 2 years. Holy shit, I appreciate that. Thank you. Hello Fabry, hello Caps. And thank you for the 240 stream streak as well, Succumbia. Thank you very, very much for that. Hello Rhino. Hello Lychee, hello Gem. Hello Ninja, hello Penguin, hello Schumann. It's only been 1 day. I'm already tired of how hot it is. Brits complain about the heat and other news water as well. You could have just ended it at Brits complain. We are very well known for complaining in general. It's not a secret. Oh dear. Hello Jaikon. You missed most of Karya. It was the one with baby lasagna, so it's only half Karya anyway. Hello Winter. Hello Vec. Thank you for the 50 stream streak, Vec. It a root canal? Oh no. I hope it went well. Ugh. Hello Ginger. You can be forgiven this time. Thanks, I appreciate that. Watch the mod suffer, sign me the fuck up. Yeah, Winter and Goat have very graciously agreed to participate in that, so it's not gonna be an extravagant goal. I was thinking like maybe like and it's gonna obviously include all of the bit donations as well as anyone who wants to make a monetary donation. I don't know, I was considering maybe bringing the punishment wheel back. It depends. Unironically, I used to say depends on the weather is a sarcastic response to when someone would ask me something. But this is legit. It depends on the weather whether I bring the punishment wheel back or not, because I will not be doing any exercises in weather that is already making me sick by just living, breathing, and existing. Call me a wimp or whatever, but my health comes first for that, and I am sure that exercising is not going to help me whatsoever. And I would like to do a longer stream on that day, so I want to hold out for the full duration. I mean, I could always create like a tab of exercises, like a fucking bar tab or something, but we'll see how it is. Hello Jinx. Hello Ray. But yeah, they're gonna do like a little thing, a little gamey game. Rain and fog, everything is cold. I would like the cold, honestly. The problem is I'm very well aware that it is probably gonna rain, and that day is gonna be glorious, and then every day after that day is gonna be the worst thing ever, because it's just gonna make it so hard to breathe. It happens every single time, and I'm fucking sick of it. Not bad for having never gone to the dentist. Hey, let's go. Let's go. I wonder if root canal is one of the dentist-based operations that are kind of fear-mongering-y. You always hear about people like dreading a root canal or very scared of a root canal, but I wonder if it's not actually as bad as it seems, you know? Hello, Pancake. Humidity could suck my flat butt. Yeah, same. I'm fucking fed up. It's the main reason why it's so insufferable is because it's just so fucking wet. It's a wet warm, not a fucking dry warm, you know? And it just becomes so hard to breathe, and everything is very overstimulating. You feel like you're in some sort of very, you know... If you've ever been to Primark, I suppose that's more of a UK thing as well. Don't know if there's a Primark equivalent overseas, but you already know you're gonna have a bad time in Primark. You're gonna be fucking the worst. It's basically like that feeling, but the entirety of summer, and it doesn't matter where you are. Brits are of a different breed. I grew up in the Midwest where it's cold and grey most year, and I hate it. I love the summer. I mean, everyone has their own preferences. I wouldn't say necessarily it is a British thing to have a preference, but it is a very stereotypical British thing to just complain. We will complain when it is too cold, we will complain when it is too warm, we'll complain when it's rain, when it's dry, when it's snowing, hailing, and when there's nothing in the sky. That's just the essence of Brit, you know? So that's how it be. They numbed your soft palate. Yeah, honestly, I will say I don't think there's necessarily a lot of people that are a big fan of needles, like, you know, getting vaccinations and whatnot and having anesthetic put in. Having anesthetic put into your gum is so painful, honestly. I will say it is a very uncomfortable experience. It works really fast, mind you, but it is horrible. it's not the nicest feeling. To be fair, I do have sensitive gums. I think most people do nowadays, but I don't know if that has any contribution towards, or sensitive teeth in general. So yeah. Hello, also. How's it going? Being boiled alive, being broiled. At tooth surgery, I was on the nitro. First time I ever did any type of thing that affected my brain. I've never been under anesthetic that requires me to breathe it in. It's always just kind of been, what is it? This is referred to as general anesthetic when you just have like the injection. When I had a piece of my gum taken out, what do you call it? They put they put a numbing gel before they put the numbing injection in. I will say the numbing gel didn't do shit and it tasted like banana, which I hated. So it was a lose-lose situation for me there. Started the week of Cat, now I'm here when it's over, and more Cat? Wait, what do you mean more Cat? Who is Cat? Not me. I'm a crow. Injection is local anesthetic, gas is general anesthesia. I see. Okay, thank you for clarifying. It felt like my limbs are growing infinitely from the chair. I don't know how it will be if I ever do have to go under general anesthesia. Because I don't know if it's a genetic thing, the resistance to it, but my mum is she was a pain in the ass for the anesthetist whenever she had to go for her surgeries, because she just wouldn't take very well, you know. My mind added in the cat mode is done for now, and I'm so thankful for it. It's exhausting. Hello, Uncle. How's it going? I've had pretty good experiences with general anesthesia. If anything, the worst part is getting the shot for said anesthesia. Yeah, the local anesthetic injection is it's not the worst thing in the world, but like having blood taken, I feel nothing. You know, I suppose it helps. I feel like in your arm you don't actually have that many nerves, but in your gums, having a needle in your gums is it hurts. It hurts a lot. Hello, Ray. How's it going? There's different levels to both, but general anesthesia affects redheads less. I heard about the redhead thing. My mum is not a redhead. I am definitely not a redhead. My mum might have redhead in her, though. She is Scottish, but I think she got the hair color from my granddad. My nana is a redhead. Not a vibrant redhead, more of a coppery, well, she's very grey now, but I suppose that might be it. Maybe I'm a little. I could have possibility of being a little bit resistant. We would have to see. You sung whatever song that came to me. I thought the surgeons they usually tell you to count like backwards, or is that just like a like a movie thing. Speaking of movies, I watched Clue yesterday for the first time. What a fucking movie. That was an amazing movie. Based on the board game Cluedo. I've never played Cluedo. I've never watched anyone play it. I just kind of know of it. And I was very interested to see how it would go. Because how do you, you know, make a movie based on a board game? But the way they did it, I feel, was very funny. It was very good. It had Tim Curry in it, so I already knew it was going to be really good. Thank you for the self-care check, Ray. Hello, Cal. How's it going? I'm okay. How are you? Oh, with Tim Curry? Yeah, with Tim Curry. It's fucking phenomenal. I love Tim Curry. I cannot find a worse pain than getting an anesthesia shot that is usually given to women when they undergo a C-section. Possibly the worst experience of my life, an epidural? The one that goes in the back? I've seen the size of that thing. Lord help me. Another reason I will not be ever being pregnant ever. After I felt nothing. My mum was very hesitant. She had to get an epidural, but she was very hesitant of it. Suppose back in the day there, they probably had a lot more mishaps with it. Ghost, are you laid on my Switch? Are you gonna be a pain in the ass? Yes, you are. Can't believe you haven't played Clue? No, I've never played Clue. I want to, though. We could totally play Clue. I heard the movie has multiple endings. Yeah, apparently the movie has different endings when they were showing it in the cinema. People got different endings. The version that I watched showed all of the endings. And, you know, it's crazy because it's part of the job description. I gotta figure things out. So I was already making my hypotheses, but some of them were right. Well, actually, everything I said in a way technically was right. I won't spoil it. I know it's a fucking ancient movie. I won't spoil it for anyone though. But there was one particular. Okay, close your eyes, close your ears and eyes. I suppose if you have closed captioning on for like 10 seconds while I just say whatever I'm gonna say. Okay, so you just your eyes and ears closed, mute it. So the one thing I did say at the very beginning to myself, I was like, you know what? Tim Curry is in this movie. I bet Tim Curry plays the bad guy. Tim Curry is always a bad guy in any movie, ever. Every movie I've watched that features Tim Curry in, he is an antagonist in some sort of way. And I knew from the start, especially when he was the role of the butler. I was like, the butler always does it. So I think there is like one canon ending, and the canon ending is that. So from the way that it was written in the movie, so yeah. I was very much awake and somewhat talkative under the nitro. That must be really creepy to the surgical. Oh, maybe they've seen it a few times, so yeah. Doesn't that kind of ruin the magic of it? Well, I think maybe I was watching like some sort of, I don't know, like DVD version. I love Tim Curry in It. I love Tim Curry in Red Alert 3. My first ever experience with Tim Curry was actually Fern Gully, where he played the sexy oil guy. Ghost. Alright, we are moving you. You can't sit there if you're gonna sit on the switch that I need to click. Out. You can go and sit in the drawer. There. Sexy? Yeah, I think to me it looked like it was, you know, I showed you guys I showed you Toxic Love, didn't I? I can show you it again if you want. Actually, you might have just listened to it. You might not have seen the video. I will show you the video and you'll know what I mean. I'm telling you. Tim Curry's got a fucking legendary voice. Here, I will get it up. I will show you. Bear with me. In other news, while I'm loading this up, I'm not a fan of Dead by Daylight by any means. Mainly because the community looks like it's worse than the League community has ever been, even in its peak. But I saw that they were doing some ARG shit, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, honestly. I love games that do that. And all I saw was complaints from people about it. I don't want to watch a 10-hour stream to see what's... Then don't. Honestly, if they went like full ARG, I don't think they'd be able to handle it. Do you know how much patience you have to have while you potentially wait for the smarter people to crack out codes and shit for that? Honestly, ungrateful pieces of shit. Right, here it is. No, what the fuck is this? Alright, we're gonna have to pause the music, I do apologize. Turn the radio on. Just move me over here. Hello, Snowy. How's it going? Box. They couldn't handle an ARG with Wick. Exactly. All they had to do was sit there, occasionally maybe check in on the live stream or see if something happens during it. Could you imagine if they actually had to like decode shit and like look up things and then have to wait for certain times for things to become available? Like, could you imagine? They would be so fucking... Yeah. Texas Chainsaw game is great, then the DBD community found it and wanted to balance it for this and all other DBD bullshit when that's not what the game is about. It's supposed to be unfair. I see. Anyway, this is what I mean by Tim Curry plays the sexy oil guy in Fern Gully because of this song. So you can't be like, what? Why would you say that after you watch this? You'll see. Diesel clouds and noxious muck, slime beneath me, slime up above. I'm not gonna sing the whole song because my account will get banned, so yeah. Hello Joshi, how's it going? Never seen whatever this is, I'm not sure I'm enlightened for it. Robin Williams is in this as well. He plays a bat. It's really good. It's like it's an animation about deforestation and how human beings are fucking everything up and pollution. And what a beautiful machine they have provided. A sweet breath to guide it. Anyway, now you guys understand what I said. He plays the sexy oil man. I wasn't joking. That wasn't a lie. I don't throw around the term sexy willy-nilly like other people do. I say it how I see it. You know, it's catchphrase. Say what you see. Anyway, yeah. It's got like fairies and stuff in it. No, look. It is a cute little animation. It's just like, honestly, it's the most out of pocket part, okay? Look, it's got Robin Williams in it. Let's watch that. Look at that. I used to love this. Batty is my favorite character. Batty is a bat that Batty is a bat that has been experimented on by scientists. So this, as I said, you can see what this movie is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be raising awareness of, hey, what the fuck are we doing? No, it's not my Hear Me Out. I mean, Tim Curry might always be a Hear Me Out, but no, Tim Curry is not a Hear Me Out. The logic is erratic. Toys in the attic. My brain is scrambled. I watched Ferngully a lot as a kid. Nurse, I need a checkup from the neck up. So yeah, the movie isn't actually that cursed. It's just a bit old, is all. It happens. So yeah, no, I don't think Tim Curry is a Hear Me Out. I think we're all on the same page when it comes to Mr. Curry. Do you not know? Is that today's watch along? What, you want to watch Ferngully? We haven't done the vote yet. Do you want to do the vote now? We can. Rip a hole into my friendship. You don't yuck anyone's yums? Well, sometimes we might. But we can keep it to ourselves, you know? Sold my gaming PC to a colleague of mine. I've done a full service on it. I'm stress testing and the components are struggling to get out of 50s for temps. Not the Bitcoin miner. 50s? Like idle? That seems quite hot for a gaming PC. Are the fans like... I know this sounds really stupid, but are the fans like just bump up their fucking... What is it called?
It's
RPM?
so fucking warm.
I know, right? It's too warm. Conch, thank you so much for the 2-1 resub. Happy 3 months. How's it going besides being, you know, warm? No, because, so for example, my idols are probably around like, if I wanted to them, I could probably have them as low as like, what, 25 or something like that. But it would mean that the fans are really loud. So in the BIOS settings, there's like a big graph you can set basically. If it gets this hot, then the fan should be at this percentage efficiency or whatever. And I had to turn mine down to basically like have a balance between sound production of the fans and cooling of the PC. Oh wait, no, it's a good thing. Wait, that's a good thing then. Wait, 50 when it's at 100% usage? Damn, that's kind of crazy. You're good? That's good to hear. Dig in a hole, diggy diggy hole, diggy diggy hole. I am a dwarf and I'm digging. You're digging a caw. beep, 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 beep. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy, diggy hole. Diggy, diggy hole. The thermal compound I use is insane. I love eating thermal paste. Delicious thermal paste. Alright, do you guys want to vote what we dig today? So that we can decide what we're doing for stream. I love eating thermal paste. Okay. So for anyone that is new here, or for anyone that hasn't been around when we've done something like this, usually on a Saturday I'll host a vote where you can decide what we're gonna do for a stream. What that means is whether we do a long stream where we just stream until like 10 as usual and we'll find something to do. Or you have the options of doing a shorter stream, so like around 3 hours or so, and then afterwards we'll either go hang out or we'll do a watch along. Usually when we hang out we start off with the dulls, which I can do today. So we start off with the dulls and then we might move into something party game-esque, or if not that many people want to play games, we might just like find a game we have in common and play that, etc, etc. If you want to turn up to the hangout, just know that you're not required to participate in the game or the voice chatting. You can just be there chilling. That's completely fine. And then the other option is the watch along, where at the moment we are watching the Top Gear specials. Not Top Gear, we're on to the Grand Tour specials. And once we've done that, we'll find something else to chronologically watch along. Occasionally we'll have a watch along where it's something a bit different, like last time we watched Robots. But it's whatever. There is a fourth option. The fourth option is just if you wanted to vote for the sake of voting. Well, why would you do that? Well, some people, let me start off by saying I ask people, do not vote for something if you don't care for it. I know that sounds stupid, but sometimes people will just vote for the sake of voting. I don't want you to do that because it will take away from the people that are actually voting for something they're going to turn up to. So, for example, if I have 10 people voting for Hangout and only 2 people turn up, whereas like fucking 5 people voted for Watch Along and all 5 people would have turned up for that, it's not very fair, you know what I mean? So obviously things happen. You might vote for something and then realize actually I can't. Yeah, it's not that serious. I'm just, have a little bit of diligence, a little bit of respect when you're voting. And if you want to vote, but can't vote because you won't be able to turn up to either of them, then that option is for you. It doesn't really matter. So, live stream, short stream, what you like? Short stream, hangout. And then I just wanted to vote. I'll leave that up for 10 minutes. You guys can decide. If anything ties, we'll go with the option with the least votes. If all 3 ties, then I'll just decide. So, choose wisely. Anyone in chat drink? If so, what is a decent alcohol? I feel like a decent alcohol is entirely subjective. Especially when it comes to something as versatile as alcohol, where there's so many different types of flavors, and things for different people. Like, what kind of alcohol do you like? Hello, Hannah. Hello, Chris. How's it going? Keep hearing about it, Discord. Yeah, I have one. Who knows it nowadays? Oh dear. Anyway, once the vote is done, we'll decide what we're doing for stream, because I'm not going to get stuck into something if I'm only going to be here for another 2 hours, or you know what I mean? It just helps me. Oh, dear me. $500 cigarettes. I like fruity things. I like alcohol that doesn't taste like alcohol. Because if I taste the alcohol, I probably won't drink it. Tell him you go for milk and never show it at a barbecue. Who is going to get milk at a barbecue? If he turned around to me and said, oh, we need milk for the barbecue, I'd be like, don't come back. Don't come back. What do we need milk for at a barbecue? If you offer me milk at a barbecue, I might just leave even if it's my house. Every time I see someone mention something about sweet alcohol, what is it that... I always have to Google it. The alcohol that smells like Battenberg cake. Amaretto, that's it. Amaretto deadass just smells like fucking marzipan. The Serrano. You know what's really funny, Snowy? You know what's incredibly funny? I'm getting an insane sense of deja vu because I was about to say I'm pretty sure I recently had this conversation with Stream. I had to still Google it, and I'm pretty sure you said the Serrano, and I was gonna say I'm pretty sure someone said the Serrano last time, but I know that that's not it. So I have to Google it. Like, this exact conversation happened. I'm pretty sure also Clarinets was there saying, Amaretto. I'm like 90% sure this conversation happened word for word in another stream. We're in a fucking time loop, only this one's the worst one because it's warm today. I wasn't fast enough with my words. I was gonna be like, so I was gonna suggest it's the Serrano. I'm gonna say it's not. I'm gonna Google it, and then it's gonna be like, oh yeah, it's Amaretto. Amaretto is the one that I was thinking of. Two things made of olives, smelling like olives, but it's you know, it's a very strong smell. We're all very simple. It's okay. Yeah. You know what I haven't done? I haven't talked about I said I was gonna talk more about the event that's upcoming. So, as you may have seen, What the Fuck Hell is doing another charity event. Shocker. But it's a small one. It's not gonna be a thon. It's probably gonna be a one-day thing. Depends on how well it goes. If it goes super well, and we want another day of it, I'll consider pushing it into Sunday, but I don't want to, you know, it's a full day of crowd control. I don't want it to get fucking old and crusty, so, and overused. But basically we're gonna do a mini fundraiser for the WWF because they have like this whole campaign that's been going on for the past like month and a half, and it ends on the 8th, which is like World Ocean Day or something like that. So I was like, you know what, let's see if we can get something done. So for those of you that do not know, crowd control is a Twitch integration where viewers can use free coins. You get free like 50 coins if you follow, 100 if you're subbed, and then 200 if it's tier 2, 300 if it's tier 3 a month. So everyone's coins will have refreshed next month, so that's, you know, Prime Time, but you get coins and you buy coins via bits. So that's how that works. However, you can link it to a Tiltify campaign. Tiltify is a third-party website that usually is where I host all of my charity events, because all of the money goes straight to charity. Therefore, I don't have to pay any taxes, and also people can't come up to me being like, you didn't actually donate the money, and it's like, well, it all went straight there, so check again, buckaroo. But yeah, you can connect your crowd control to a Tiltify campaign, where all of the money that you would usually use to buy bits, to buy coins for it, will go towards that campaign instead. So that's what we're gonna do. We have a bunch of games. Hades is a game I definitely will be doing, because that was an incentive that we have to do from the last event. I also saw that Clover Pit is on there, so for another single player game, and Spyro was suggested as well. So we're probably going to do Hades, Clover Pit, and Spyro. We probably won't do all of Spyro. We'll probably just do the Artisans world, and that's it. As for multiplayer games, we've got the classic Deep Rock. We've got Repo. So Deep Rock we'll probably do with Goat Winter. We'll see if Faint wants to join in on that one. Repo, I've asked a bunch of my friends if they would like to join in for that. Project Zomboid is something I'm going to be doing with David, because someone wanted Project Zomboid. So we're going to try that one out with David. I'm not going to lie, some of the redeems on Project Zomboid looks like the worst thing ever. And then we can see what we're feeling like. We'll probably see if there's anything else that we'd like to do. And as I said, there's going to be like a mini goal that if we hit it, we can have the mods play a game each with crowd control enabled. So you can go and torture them as well. Because usually in the multiplayer games, there is a lot of crowd control that is focused on the host. So they don't get to experience it. So they can be the host and they can experience it. Hello, Brandon. How's it going? I'm alright, just warm. I'm just so warm. So, yeah. That's what we're gonna do. We are probably going to... do a longer stream, as I said. Probably do a 12-hour one. We'll start at 12, end at 12. And as I said, if we're having fun and we want to continue it the next day, we can. But, you know, as I said before, I don't want it to get too old, too overused. And I have a feeling that everyone's just going to end up spending their fucking money on Deep Rock anyway. So, yeah. Which is understandable. Deep Rock has the funniest of the redeems. But if you don't really care for buying bits and whatnot and interacting via crowd control, there's always the option to donate directly as well. So, yeah. Hello, Time. How's it going? Love Deep Rock crowd control? I know a few of you do, so, you know. Lots of fun stuff, yeah. I'm going to try and get as many people as I can for Repo, make it really chaotic. It's one of the slops that most people own, so, and it does have a working mod that allows the multiplayer to be extended. I think the baseline is 6, so I'm not sure we will need it. Oh, we're gonna do a watch along today. Okay, that's fine. So we'll do a shorter stream. We'll do a watch along. I don't know what you guys want to do for the shorter stream. Then you guys want me to do like something just chilling in the background, or am I lagging? No. Okay. So yeah. Exciting. There was a thing as well that I saw that I was emailed that if I make a campaign before the 8th, so while the whole 2-month-long campaign is going on for, there is a game. Let me see if I can find it. Darwin's Paradox. I will get a code for that. Which I don't know if you guys know what Darwin's Paradox is. It's the Octopus Konami game. And honestly, I might give it away Maybe I could give that as the top contributor. I wasn't going to do top donator stuff because I didn't want it to feel like an official full-on event. As I said, this was very last minute and I didn't want to half-ass any rewards or stuff, but maybe I could just do it as a giveaway to anyone that donates. We'll see. We'll see. The Octopus game, yeah. So I would get a code for that. And it should be good. Clover Pit. I didn't actually check. I will not lie to you. I didn't actually check. The Clover Pit integration. I probably should. Let's have a look. I think out of all of the games that I picked, they did have like proper thorough integration. So probably other games, if we're tired of playing like if we need something to turn our brain off to, we can always do like general League Overwatch stuff, because they do have cloud control integration where you can like flashbang. Okay, yeah, this is a fully unequip random charm for 50 gold. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. It's what we desire. If anyone is interested in Darwin's Paradox, it is on sale at the moment, 25% off. Reviews are looking very good. I don't know, we'll see. We can do a wee giveaway of it maybe. That would be kind of cool. When your nightmare comes to life. Been getting some updates on my outfit, which is exciting. That's pretty cool. Some of the rigging updates. My rigger says that potentially the outfit could be done super soon. So that's pretty cool. It's looking very cute. CV, thank you for the 295 stream streak. How's it going? Thank you very much. Wow. Let's see. What's the plan? I don't know. I don't know what we want to do for the next 2 hours. Let's see. Surviving, how about you? Same. It's so fucking warm. I'm fed up. And it's literally day... Well, it's not... Technically, it's not day one. Yesterday was cooler, but the day before that, I feel was quite horrible. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh. Risk of Rain released a dev diary for the Hallowed Concepts. Oh, what one? Yeah, the watch along. Doing the watch along. Guys, what if we played Age of Mythology? What if we did a quick game of Age of Mythology right now? I've never played the game before, by the way. Go for it! I'm way too impatient for a game like that. Hoi! Hello, Mira. How's it going? Crow for it. Hit the road. stratosphere. Actually, let me check the timings. Maybe I could just do a chill candle run. Good, glad to hear, glad to hear. Ghost is laying on my bed. He looks like he's been hunted. You are so long. You're not laying in the sun? Let me see if I can grab a picture. Gorgeous boy. I'll post it to the Discord for you guys as a little treat. To the stratosphere. Let's see. Geyser's in an hour, Grandma's in an hour and a half. Oh, we could probably do a sky run if you guys are fine with that. Let me just post this to the Discord. Gotta get them candles. I know, I'm so broke after the past 2 traveling spirits. When up she rises. There was this one they released, it's called Cowboy Hat. Why did Steam just enter big picture mode? Can we not do that? Then we can just chill sky. Why not? Actually, Stevie, perfectly you're here. Do you remember where we left off for the watch along for the top the not Top Gear. Wait, was it? I'm pretty sure it was you. Yeah, right. I thought it was either you or Clarinets who has been keeping track. And hello, Tabby. How's it going? Ghost looks so cute in that pic. He looks cute in all pictures. He's very adorable. The Ghost TV. It's because I fucked up and I ended up skipping a few. And I was like, shit, bro. I'm sorry. Has streams continued well? It's been nice and comfy so far. I haven't been keeping track. No, I remember someone posting something and I was like, oh shit, I don't remember what it was. Wait, when up she was, we can just keep on with this. This music, it's so stuffy. It's so fucking stuffy, guys. Oh, I'll have to view that later. I got a friend post. I was wondering why the style looks so different. It's probably not the best time to be playing on a controller, mind you, because I always clean my controller, like give it a wipe down after every time I'm playing with it, because that makes it easier than just having fucking... Like, as much as you like to keep your hands clean and take care of them, at the end of the day, they're gonna produce oils and sweat. And that's gonna get into every nook and cranny on the old controller, so I tried to make sure that I'm keeping my controller as clean as possible and wiping it down after every time I use it. But it's gonna be even, like, more... Oh, guys, Lara came on yesterday. They didn't come by to say hello, though. Lara does not have the addiction that I do. I'm not insane, I'm not insane. I'm not insane, I'm not insane. Alright, let's see what we got today. Ah, okay, Prairie. Do you have a shard? No. Thank you for the 7 sheep, bro. I appreciate it, thank you. I'm not insane. Come back to me, it's almost easy. Come back again, it's almost easy. Ba-dum. Ah, Days of Color is gonna be super soon as well. I don't know what comes after Days of Color though. Probably Days of Summer. Blech. Guys, remember when I was doing my dailies during the thon and I couldn't stop bowing because my controller was broken? Me too. Still don't have all my wing light. I actually do need to do Eden today too. Today and tomorrow. It's my bi-weekly Edening. I'm not insane, I'm not insane. I found out that if I do Turtle, I don't have to run Golden Wasteland. Which makes my life so much easier. Not because I hate running Golden Wasteland, like I love Golden Wasteland despite how scary it is to some players, but god, the fucking wax in there is abysmal. Had the bench quest yesterday. Quite possibly the worst quest ever. Just sit on a bench with someone else, which isn't necessarily the worst problem, is, you know, waiting for someone to sit on the bench with you. But you need the candle to be lit to sit on the bench, and the candle eventually runs out, which again is not honestly that big of a problem. The problem stems from the fact that the candle doesn't light half of the time, and then no one can sit down. Which is, I love it. It's the best thing ever. I'm really glad that that is a quest in the game. I heard there's a trick though. If you name like one of your friends like Anonymous or something, then sit on the bench with them, it works too. That would require having friends, however. Hey, you, what do you say? There's something beautiful, something... Ooh. Fresh tent. You love to see it. One of my tent posters has stopped making tents. It's very sad. My tent 1, and I also haven't seen tent 2 in a hot minute, so tent 3 and tent 5 are my goats actually. And the closets have started coming back, which is nice too. The ranger guy has me skinned now. I mean, I don't blame you. The guy has a fucking mask, the mogs, and the hat is so cowboy core. I haven't got the cape or the mask yet, but I think I'll be able to get them after today and tomorrow's candle run, which is nice.
To celebrate the 4th year of subscribing, I shall give you a break from the puns.
What?
Hope you're having a nice day. L.
L. Thank you very much. Honestly, I'm surprised at being the 4th year that you didn't come up with some sort of gin or 4 pun. Your restraint is inspiring, Beaker. I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for the tier 1 resub. Thank you so much for that. Happy 4 years of unbearable puns, Beaker. Despite what it may seem, I do appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well. Boo. Forcing himself? Okay, right. Get out. Slowly losing my gut, the working out is working. It tends to do that, unless your hormones are all fucked. I feel like people are very lax about how much hormones can affect literally anything and everything. Or you just eat a lot. I know people that work out so they can eat more. Like, that's their only reason for working out. I'm not taking the piss, by the way. I think that's, you know, you do you. That's honestly incredible that you do that. It's very committed of you. Leroy, thank you for the self-care check. How's it going? Appreciate your streams over all these years? That's very sweet. Thank you, Biko. I thought you just came over here to torment me, but that's very, very sweet. Hello, Goat. How's it going? Sky guy? You're doing some Sky? I don't know what else to do. It's too warm to get stressed at video games right now. So I'll just get stressed at the people in Sky, because I take this game way too seriously. Did that before. I love food, so exercise equals more food equals win. Yeah, whatever sinks your ship, you know? Whatever floats your boat, I should say, because it's more of a positive thing. You're a lazy crook? Yeah, I'm a lazy crook in a dirty dirt. You've been eating a lot more since I started working out? You need the energy. We're probably gonna get a fucking traveling spirit group soon. I'm nervous. Well, I know what the I have a feeling. I've seen leaks of what the group is gonna be, but it's honestly, usually traveling spirit groups cost anywhere between 800 and 900 candles in total. That's just regular candles. It's not even hearts or ascended candles, but the traveling group that's been hinted or leaked or whatever to come over is actually one of the cheaper ones. I think it's like nearly 600 hearts. Or it might be nearly 700 hearts, which is pretty cool. I wanted to lose weight instead of gaining weight is awful office job. Are there things that you can do to make your kind of quality of life there a wee bit better. Like get like yourself like an under the desk like peddler thing or something. Maybe put on some of those what are they, the wrist things that are like weights? It's called weight training or something. Oh my god, it's like a lift kegs. What the fuck was that? Did you see that? Is there a shard here today? Is there gonna be a shard here today? What the flick? Let me check. Hermit Valley, 20 minutes. Ooh, 3.5 ascended candles. Sign me the fuck up. We will be doing that shard. Cool. Oh, I must have missed a fucking... I get it when we go geyser. Right, the fucking quests are here today. They can give you a standing desk? Yeah, a standing desk. And a stair thing? Well, it depends if they work from home or if they are, you know, actually at an office, Winter. I don't think they can have a treadmill at the office, maybe. Or a stairmaster. Hey guys, how's it going? Instead of a fucking briefcase, you're bringing in your whole ass stairmaster to work. Your end goal is getting into IT. I was looking at some courses for that. I've decided I don't want to do a master's in biochem. I need something stable. And that seems to be the way. I've seen what people have at the desks. I think Ninja can have a little stair thing. Really? Is that like a normal thing? I feel like... I feel like, I don't know. Sounds like something... I don't know if you'd be able to have that over here. I have to commute 2 hours each day the one way I go into the office each week, so I'm half tempted to stop bringing a pillow for an afternoon nap. I mean, why the fuck not? Whatever keeps you comfy, whatever gets you through the day, you know? My office experience is relatively limited. The 2 I worked in were chill enough. And those electric kettles at the desk. It's crazy that you have to explicitly make something like that a rule. It insinuates that it has happened and people have thought it's a very smart idea to have an electrical appliance that its sole purpose is to heat water next to a bunch of other electrical appliances that are very important for you to work on constantly. Keep the weights at the desk, just by the side of them. Yeah. Are you gonna take it a bit easier as it gets hotter, or do you have like aircon? I suppose that is a positive side of a gym. Gyms do tend to have aircons. That's why I used to love, in PE in high school, I used to love going into the fitness suite. Because when you got to year 10 and 11, which is when you're doing your GCSEs, which are basically like your high school qualifications to get into college, you go down from having to do 3 lessons of PE a week to 1 mandatory lesson, but you got to choose what you did, and they'd always give excuse my stereotypical way of speaking here, not way of speaking, but, you know, attributions here. You'd get a girl sport, a boy sport, and a middle ground sport. And the middle ground sport was always the fitness suite. So you'd get something like table tennis, and then football or rugby, and then you'd get the fitness suite. So, and I say girl sport or boy sport because that's literally how it was in our high school. It's probably changed now, but in our high school, if you were in girls PE, we did not do football, we did not do rugby, we did not do basketball. We did netball, we did hockey, and we did badminton. So, you know, it's kind of fucking ass. They've probably changed that since then, but that's how it was for me. But I used to always end up choosing the fitness suite unless something like dodgeball was on, because it was always air conditioned, and in the summer that felt amazing. Hockey is a girls' sport. It's just what they had us do. The guys got to play softball. We got to play rounders. That's just how it was. Brock might be able to add to this because we went to high school together. It was funny because I have some old pictures of Brock in the fitness suite because we'd bring our phones in. It was very chill in the fitness suite. Girls are separate in ours till year 10. Yeah, we weren't. We were separate, girls and boys, up until year 10 and 11. We weren't separated, but the sports were very, made it so we were essentially separated. These maps are so feature rich, it depends on the map. Because if I show you the Starlight Desert, you'll be like, what the fuck, this is so empty. Or the 9-colored year one. Softball is a girl sport and hockey is a boy sport. It wasn't ice hockey, by the way. It was just like on the grass hockey. On the AstroTurf. It fucking hurt. I hated it. I figured I would like ice hockey because I like ice skating, but... No. We will not be getting kidnapped today. He got a lot better after that, mostly basketball. I liked basketball, but the one time I got to do basketball with the... Oh, I can't, chibi fallen. The one time I got to do basketball with... The girls were insanely fucking bitchy. Like, the claws were out. I was bleeding at one point. It was crazy. Oh, it's a feature-rich... What? Ice skating is really fun. I wish I got to do it more. I would like to go ice skating. But my life is just not... I'm not equipped to be able to do that right now. I mean, Brock is coming up soon to go watch the Amazing Digital Circus movie. But Brock will go ice skating. Brock has had bad experiences ice skating. Oh, Buggy. Oh, I see. What can I do to make you feel you're wanted? What cape is that? Oh, it's the Days of Nature one, I think. Based ice skating hater? Why do you hate ice skating? I love ice skating. I think the only reason that Brock hates ice skating is because the last time we went ice skating, we went with a few people and he just kept falling. Look, I'm not an ice skater by any means. I'm always shaky on there, and I have to get used to it before I feel brave enough to actually get away from the barrier, but... Just make your legs go. I can't make the legs go. You're like Bambi ice skating. I feel like it just takes a wee bit of getting used to. People don't ice, it's not a very... it's usually a thing you go out as a treat to do. It's not like a consistent thing. I think if people took it as more of a consistent thing, it would be better. Spent 2 hours there, still couldn't go in any direction. I see. I've been to an ice skating rink in Bradford, and I went to Doncaster Dome as well. Those are the only 2 places I went ice skating. Debating grabbing a penguin by the end. When we went to Bradford, that was the last time we went ice skating. With Brock and the wee group. they wouldn't let my friend have a penguin. Apparently you can be too old for a penguin, which is kind of stupid. I mentioned this, but me rollerblading a lot as a kid just gave me the instinct to ice skate naturally when it's time for us to do it in 10th grade. Josh, I ain't gonna lie, I don't remember you mentioning that like once. Maybe you have it, I just haven't restored the information in my brain, but... I mean, roller skating sounds fun as well, but for me, ice skating sounds more fun because there's less chance I'm gonna fall on a rock, you know? More chance of keeping your fingers? Yeah, I've seen some of the horrific ice skating accidents. Like, there's been a few... I've seen it's mainly ice hockey, mind you. Like, actual sporting with the neck situation that makes me a little fucking wheezy, but... Last time I used roller skates, got pulled along by a friend on a bike, hit crooked paving slab and went flying. Yeah, that's my main fear with the roller skating. It's just uneven ground. I suppose if you went to a roller skating rink, which if they exist nowadays, they feel very, what is it, 70s? Breathed my chest. Yeah, I can imagine you'd have probably hit the ground at quite the pace. You know what that's just reminded me of? Any of you guys when you were young, like, have a friend that had a bike and they'd have, like, the little notches that stuck out on the wheels that you could stand on and you could grab onto the back of, you know, them and basically hitch a ride? Can I ask you guys what you would call that? Just curious, because I'm just curious. What would you call that? The pegs? Yeah. Pegs. Yeah, okay. A backy? Oh, okay. Right. I would also call it pegs. I'm surprised to see that the... I thought it would be like an English thing to call it that, but surprised to see that the winter is also agreeing. Well, the ride itself... Well, I think you would just say... You would say to someone, can I peg, you know? A backy? I've never heard the term the backy before. You would just say pegs and then you would get up. No, like, he's a backy? No, I've only ever heard pegs. Like, you just say pegs. Give us a peg. Yeah, exactly. That's how it would be. That's how... Maybe I grew up in... I'll have to ask Brock, because maybe the area I grew up is a little bit too rough. That's just what was said. I don't know what to tell you. Things meant different back then. Stop hooking up on the bike path. Oh, I would never... I mean, I never participated in the riding of it myself. You didn't peg? No, I didn't peg. Thanks, Winter. What the fuck is... Excuse me. There we go. Uro-papa, uro-papa. Look, just things meant different when we were kids, alright? unless that term has existed longer, then can you imagine what the adults think when kids are asking for pegs? I don't know how long the term pegging has been around for. Like, we can have smart adult conversations about the coining of words. Maybe, you know, if anyone like is like not to I just have a feeling Joshy might know. I'm not insinuating anything, but because Joshy does like words. Like, don't you study words and shit? You probably know. When did peg originate? Pegging. Never mind. We're changing the conversation. You call your mods gooners and peg people? Alright, let's get this straight. I referred to them as the goons way before goon became a term for what it is now. We definitely know that much. Oh, I ran out of my... That's fine. Just do it this way instead. I hate when the shard is just landing. Everything is fucking red. I can't see. Honestly, it's not the worst here. It's the worst in Golden Wasteland. Might look into it if I remember. Okay. Huh? Don't worry about it. I'm not feeding into any ideas. I said what I said. But as a kid, I definitely remember that's what people would say. In fact, if I were to be the most accurate, it would just be Gizpegs. Obviously not in that kind of accent, but... We are called goons, we are old school henchmen. Exactly. Exactly. That's what it used to... I think that I don't like... Honestly, there's some words that I don't mind being used for something else, but goon is probably one of the ones that I hate. Because henchmen are so fucking funny. What do you mean you just have these idiots follow you around and do stupid shit and... No, it's the bats. It's the fucking Batman, you know? That kind of shit with the Brooklyn accent. Or Italian, or whatever you want to say. The boss says you're alright, then you're right. If the boss says you're alright. The boss. That's me, I'm the boss. At the ground, it's a subtle proposition. I'm sorry I never left to turn you down. Feta Cheetos. Anyone getting the hay of fever? Anyone an experiencer of hay of fever? I forgot to do my fucking... Oh, it's fine. It's all in the fucking bird's nest anyway. So I forgot to do my fucking quests. It's in bird's nest. I didn't go there yet. Knowing full well that Goat will send me to sleep with the fishies if I'm not, am I alright? Why Goat? Why not Winter? Is Goat the brute one? Is Winter the one that goes, yeah, you know? Oh my god. Is Winter the one that sounds like the fucking... Mr. What is it? Mr. Zim from... Gazillionaire. Yes, I see. It's usually like brains and brawn, but I think it's just brawn and guy, you know. Have you ever considered working as a bouncer? Hit the bricks, kid. No, I don't want to. No, I didn't mean to. Oh, whatever. Whatever. It's fine. Brawn and not brawn, basically. That's how you guys have got to remember them from each other. Because Winter and Goat get mixed up all the time. Ooh, what a treat. All of this is burned. Usually it's not. Somehow. I understood people being a bit confused about David and Daniel because, you know, one of them's name is Guy, one of them's name is Iron Fist. Like, not mixing them together, like, but like not knowing who is David and who is Daniel, you know what I mean? I understood that, but the fucking Winter Goat situation is so funny. We'll get those ones to get richer. I'd love to see Bloodywood live. There's a lot of people that I'd like to see live. Oh, right. I was like wondering what the fuck that was. I often get Goat and Winter mixed up. Yeah, a lot of people do. Gonna make the best play of my life and someone will type good job, Winter. Good is the American one. Let's be real though. Genuinely. For those of you here that have heard Goat speak, you wouldn't be able to guess where he's from, right? I'm not the only one that thinks that, right? I never would have guessed. Made plans to meet up with IRL friends. Pray they'll melt in this heat. Get an ice cream, you'll be right. Best of luck. And/or my condolences. Where's the... Oh. Weird. Austria or Turkey? I don't know where I would have guessed. I'm gonna be honest, all your mods sound like Yugos somehow. Take care, Lychee. Why do I have that person lit up? Best of luck with your outing, and thank you for stopping by. Is it American? I don't know where the Balkans are, but would you? It doesn't matter that he is Balkan. It's just that if you heard his voice, would you be able to say like, "Oh yeah, you sound like you're from Croatia"? Because, you know, faint, yes. I don't know how many of you guys have heard Peter as well, but Peter, absolutely. Goat? No. I wouldn't be able to even guess. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start, you know? Best in the sky. You calling me a fake? Yeah, probably. You might be a LARPer. What dress is that? Is it the pirate dress? I don't think it is. Is it? This combination looks really clean. I should have been working on this other side. My brain was off. Generic Euro. What, even Winter? Goat is the first Croatian I've heard speak to associate his accent with Croatians, really? What about Faint then, who has a very strong accent in comparison? It's not the strongest. Peter has an incredibly strong accent. But I don't think many of you have heard Peter speak. Number 1 Croatian, I don't think that's what that means. Probably sound like a generic American. Yeah, for me, I am very guilty in the fact that, oh, yeah, you're American. You sound like you're an American. I wouldn't be able to pinpoint where in America someone might sound from unless they're from either New York or Texas. That's as much as I can differentiate. When it comes to like American states and whatnot. And I'm not in the getting attraction. One of my family has a Boston accent. It did not pass to me.
I am still
see.
here.
Hello, Faye. Thank you for the tier 1 resub. Happy 27 months. Thank you very much. Glad to hear you're still here. Welcome to our conversation about accents. How's it going? Apparently Californians don't pronounce our T's. I've never noticed, but it's totally true. I wouldn't be able to... See, if you were from, like, over here's Boston, you would sound pretty posh. Boston's pretty far down south. How do you say things in truth? Just watch some Ted season 2, or I watched that with Goat and David and Block. Well, I think... Wait, no, I think we finished season 1 with Block. But season 2 with Goat and David, what a fucking series. It's so good. It has that guy. I was so confused because I was like, oh, it's that guy from that I see in every D&D thing ever. Hello, Nordic. How's it going? I have a deep-rooted Swedish non-regional American accent if I speak English. That's a very soupy combination. Winter with a Boston accent would go hard, I'm not gonna lie. Unfortunately, Winter, I'm afraid that your job requirement now means you have to know Boston accent. Don't is don't. Oh, I see what you mean. Or don't. I don't know. I'm not very good with American accents and pinpointing where they're from. Hope you don't like ours because I won't be using them anymore. Oh, anymore. But you see, I'm reading that as just you using W's instead of saying anymore. Anymore. Winter. You know what I mean? Peter Griffin maxing Winter? Or has Peter Griffin got a Boston accent? Is that what it is? Winter's Peter Griffin. Okay. I see. We also pronounce winter as winner. Oh no. Too many doses and I'm starting to get an attraction. I want to sound like Teether from the Yellowstone show. I want to watch the Yellowstone show, honestly. That shit looks good. Very cowboy. I don't know what I would like to sound like. I would like a consistent accent. Because I'm very well aware that some things I say sound what people would term as posh. Some people would be like, oh, you know, they would hear me say something and be like, oh, are you Scottish? Or, you know, and I'm just like sat here feeling like a half-ass LARPer most of the time. But I don't focus too much on how the words sound when I'm saying them, which is why that shit happens. I promise you, I'm not trying to mock anyone or pretend I am something I aren't. If I could easily stop it, then I probably would, because I don't get as many comments nowadays, but I've, you know, still get the odd here and there, you know. Jellystone. You can't place it all. A lot of people can't because it's a big amalgamation, and I started to hate saying that too because it makes me sound like I'm trying to be something unique, but it's not. It's just I was born in England and I've been living in Scotland for the past like fucking near enough decade now, and I picked up pieces and bits and pieces of the accent. There was a point where I had a more consistent twang, but I tried to get rid of it because of a ex-relationship where I got mocked quite a bit for my accent changing, and it didn't feel very good, so I tried to change it, and now we're stuck with whatever this is. You sound posh when you say can't. Yeah, it really honestly depends on the word and whatever mood I'm in. Apparently, when I am more pissed off, I slip back into that twang. Sometimes when I'm mocking things, I'm a bit more posh. You know, I'm very thankful that I don't get as many comments nowadays, but it's just something I'm still very aware of and very self-conscious of. And I appreciate that you guys don't think it's so annoying. Or pick me. Oh. I had to stretch my legs. Oh. Sorry, I don't mean to make anyone feeling like bad for me either or anything like that. I'm a big girl. Most British accents are pretty good. It depends on... there's a lot of discourse at the moment about British accents on Twitter because someone made a fucking one of the typical generalizations without realizing that, look, there's like so many. So you don't sound generically German. No, I wouldn't have been able to place you as German, honestly, Joshy. Is Ireland British but not part of UK? Or are they also not British? Don't ask me. You're better off asking someone like Snowy, who knows what they're talking about when it comes to the UK and Britain most of the time. Thank you very much, Stevie. I appreciate it. I promise I'm not making a mockery of you or anyone else when I say words a certain way. And thank you, Joshi. I appreciate it too. Just know it is something I'm still very self-conscious of. I am not intending to mock anyone. Not intending to be different for the sake of being quirky. I think this could apply to a lot of people with a lot of things where they do things differently and people see it as a kind of, oh, are you just doing that to be quirky or just to be different? And they don't realize that actually, no, that's not the case, and if they could stop it, they would, because more often than not, you just get comments like that, you know what I mean? And it doesn't feel good at all. When you say Nordic, you sound Scottish. Probably the R's. The R's, I think, are... Whenever there is an R in a word, I am more likely to pronounce it with a bit of a twang, I suppose. If there's an O in a word, then it's the other twang, you know what I mean? Isn't language funny? Came from a raid, but your voice and accent is actually why I stayed. That's really sweet of you to say, thank you. I just figured it was annoying to most people. Hello Malice, how's it going? Saw the accent tier list and someone put Serbia above all the other same sounding countries in the area. Wait, why what? Oh, I see. I wouldn't be able to differentiate between Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, and Montenegrin, honestly. Especially because the only Bosnian I know speaks with the most American accent I've ever heard in my life. two when you say two. Oh, well, I suppose it's the O exception when it's an U instead of an O. Tearless made by a Serbian. Been online too much, I don't even hear accents unless they're thick. That's fair enough. Language is great, especially dialectics. Dialectics. Do you know something that I wanted to do? So I did an English language course in college because I had to do like, they wanted English or maths, and I said I wasn't doing maths, so I did English instead with my 2 sciences because I wanted to do music, but they're like, no, you need to do English or maths. So I was like, okay, I'll do English. So I did an English language course in college, and honestly, it was so interesting. I could totally have seen myself like really invest myself into a career path that. But when we were learning about some gender stuff and the fact that, you know, I forget the exact proper jargon terminology, but women tend to try to sound more like the person they're speaking to. Men try to, was it converge and diverge? Is that what I'm thinking of? Men try to, this is very stereotypical, but it is, you know, just what I was taught. Men tend to try and sound less like the person they are speaking to. It's all about power and stuff like that as well. It's just, I won't get too much into that. But I thought it would be a good idea because I was like, wait, what happens then if you take a set of twins? Could you like really test this theory? You take a set of identical twins, one boy, one girl, and you send them from their birthplace over to somewhere with a very strong accent. I think I used Australia as my example. Imagine they came from here, you send them over to Australia, and then you wait after a couple of years and see, you know, could you see how you know, how quickly one picked up an accent compared to the other person, if they picked up the accent at all, you know, all that sort of stuff. But at that point, it's like, even thinking about it now, how would you measure? You know, how would you measure the strength of an accent and shit like that? It's very what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word I'm looking for. I can't remember. Can't remember the word, but yeah, I was really interested in that shit. So at least you can say purple burglar alarm. I suppose that's right. There was an attempt. I think in one of the hangouts. Someone tried to get Stevie to say it, and unfortunately Stevie struggled a wee bit. Pretty good, glad to hear. So I want to learn Stokavian language dialect, even though I'm out of my teenage lol Balkans so funny phase. I'm not out of my Balkans so funny phase. I think they're fucking hilarious. I love laughing at them. Particularly the 2/3 that occasionally join the chat. So how sociolinguistical? Code and I always sound the same. You do not. This is the conversation we had earlier. You have a much stronger accent than Goat, but not as strong accent as Peter. Hello, Brad. How's it going? What would be so funny? Just a wee bit. You're in a very Balkan time of your life right now. It is an actual study of phonetics, so you can measure the exact strength of an accent by examining the phonetics. Oh, I see. So there is a way. That's pretty cool. I don't think yours works. I think yours works. So here's it. Can this guy fuck off? It's this one. So sometimes the tents don't work because you actually need to turn down the FPS and then it will work. Streets are saying I'm Balkan. 2 more weeks until your move. Oh wait, no, you said you need the. Wait, what? 2 more weeks until what? What are you saying? Oh, the fucking shard is here. Oh, but geyser's in 5 minutes. We might have to come back. No, I can make you have 2 more weeks of cat mode. I mean, you won't though. At most, you'll do 1 week and keep the rest of the points. I've heard stuff. I have heard stuff. I need to go back for Geyser. We can come back and do the shard when we're waiting for Grandma. Yeah, this is a really good ghost song. I like this ghost song. Positive affirmation. I think I'm a trooper for getting through cat mode for 1 week without quitting. I'm just saying. It was very tempting to not do it, but I did it, you know? Waiting for a certain cowman to pull the trigger? Yeah, I'm very well aware. I'm aware of the agreement that you guys have. There was a squealer. Well, not really a squealer. I kind of deducted it. But, yeah. See, someone has been paid off. This is what I mean. I know I'm guaranteed to get one more probably before the year ends at least. Maybe even 2. I don't know. The economic status of the channel points right now is probably in shambles after all of those refunds during the thon. Which reminds me, if any of the mods are free, can you make sure that the Trash Can's cat mode redeem got accepted so we don't accidentally refund it? I'm sure if we accidentally refunded it that he wouldn't use it for anything like that. I mean, probably just redeem it again and we could just, yeah, but... Thank you, Winter. Hard to price channel points these days, I suppose. What do you think of the band Avatar and Catatonia? I don't think I have... Avatar sounds familiar, Catatonia I don't think I have heard of. But I can't place a song to their name. I'm not very good with bands, I do apologize. Where's the other light? I have to catch the wandering lights and the green light. Dude, I remember the green light was fucking bugged for the longest time one of the days. Because you have to wait for it to fall. And it wouldn't fall. I was just sat there like a fucking lemon waiting and waiting and waiting and it would not fall. And I was like, oh, well, okay then. Whatever, I suppose. We'll just nuke the economy. We'll nuke the economy just for you. Thanks, I appreciate it, bud. Catatonia is one of your top 3, I see. Are they ghost-like? Is that why you suggested them? Whatever ghost-like means, because I feel like out of all of the bands that I listen to, Ghost is probably the most controversial when it comes to people trying to genre them. People get really upset when you call them metal and stuff like that. But to me, I am not upset because they are my Scooby-Doo chase music band, you know? I was once testing my mic for a Zoom call while in Estonia. My roommates heard me loudly sing Pita Kozarska Brigada and explained I just sang what came to mind. In your Balkan phase. There it is. I'll be looking for you if that happens. If I remember after stream today, I'll leave the rest of the redeems in the queue. Thank you. I appreciate it. A few weeks later, they brought a Serbian girl into the dorm. Like, look, he can sing Serbian. And I tried to elaborate. It was a song from the Yugoslav Wars. It's just like, that's okay, actually. I will not comment on that. My See, I have 2 Croatian friends. So, like, I feel like my view of the kind of generic stereotypical Serbian is probably very skewed compared to most people. The earlier stuff was hard, but True Catatonia came out and it's like goth rock metal. I see. I see. I just like this song because it's at the start it's very like ooh grr, and then at the end it's like, if I had to describe this song, it would be like, say, like if I had to apply like a genre, it's like enemies to lovers is what this song sounds like to me. Time to bring up the Europe tier list, the one that you and Goat made. Don't know what genre to put them in. Yeah, sometimes putting stuff into a single like genre is very hard. I completely understand. Yeah, do you still have it saved? Maybe I could do that tier list with Ray. I'll do Europe tier list and compare it to the tier list that you guys made. Socrates and Plato can have made a better list. Oh my god. Icons of self-indulgence. Hello David, how's it going? Diabolical. Yeah, thank you for the self-care check, Beaker. I will do that now. Stop using my words. I don't spell. Oh, is it speaking Afrikaans or is it Dutch? Think you'd like Solid Song Twin or For My Demons? If you're in the Discord, you can pop it in the chat playlist. I can pop it in the playlist. If you don't want to, that's completely fine as well, I understand. We're looking up cities and country GDPs to decide rankings. And you're assuming that me and Ray wouldn't? We managed to make a cat tier list last over 4.5 hours. Not just vibes. No, I feel like vibes-based ranking could get you into a lot of hot water. On it, no worries. You got distracted a lot? What do you mean? By what? We were talking about cats the entire time. Did I get this down here? I don't think I did I? Or did I? Oh, I did. Not me being Dory. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of, like, for some reason there is like a very common occurrence in the UK where people will want to move from here to Australia, and that's where they want to live. And I don't know why. It's always fucking hot, and everything is trying to kill you. Hot over cold any day, then you can move to Australia. My cousin did that. I think I distinctly remember there's like a TV show about it as well. Wanting to live a dangerous life? Perhaps, maybe. But then why not just move to London or something, you know? The Yahtzee Croshaw did that, then he moved to the US. I think Anglos just idolize being miserable. Friend moved to London, he's staying in the worst area I can imagine. That doesn't mean much. I think the whole of London is the worst area you can imagine. Based? I fucking despise London. I'm not patriotic enough to be like, oh well, you know. Unless I'm complaining to some other Yorkshire people that are maybe perhaps North Yorkshire about what the better Yorkshire is and why it is West. I'm not a very patriotic person, so I'll admit happily, like, There are lots of shitholes in the UK, but sometimes the areas are nice. I don't think that's true for London. As a tourist, as a fan of it, but I like city life. I personally do not enjoy city life. I think I would enjoy country life, but I think I'm better suited to urban life. For me, personally. If you don't like London, you don't even like the UK? Yeah, alright, buddy. Town life enjoyer? Town is not so bad either, but I just rather be away from like any kind of hustle and bustle. I did holiday in a hamlet once in York, and honestly, it was fucking gorgeous there. There's a really big like national. It's fucking massive. The Cairngorms here in Scotland. Just stick me in the middle of there. Get me some decent internet, maybe a line to Domino's every once in a while, and I'll be chilling. Live in the hills and the glens and shit. Yeah, why the fuck not? It's gorgeous in autumn. I love it. I once holidayed in Butlins. I went to Butlins once. Never stayed overnight though. Caravanned in Skegness like twice. Caravanned in fucking Clacton. Clacton. Not Clapton. What the fuck am I talking about? Clacton. In Essex. That was like the worst holiday I'd ever been on. It's nice to be in the city, but somewhere more secluded away from the road and noise. Well, that's like the suburbs, right? That's what the suburbs is, right? Or am I thinking of something else? The bull rope out when the 5 fire trucks and police go by and the dogs go insane for 30 minutes. I see. Yeah, basically, Snowy. I need the convenience personally as well. Used to go on caravan holidays in Scarborough. Scarborough's not bad. I think Skegness is better. Scarborough's the last beach I went to. If I remember correctly, I went there with Brock. And I think the same day is when I had my TIA, so... Have to bring that up, by the way. I have to make sure you guys remember that I had a TIA. So maybe Scarborough isn't all of that. We went there to relax and I came back and had a mini stroke, so what's that about? Sorry, I fucking need to learn to shut my mouth up. I didn't need to say that at all. Must be the sea air. I personally don't enjoy the seaside, but I have chalked that down to it just being that the UK seasides are very fucking miserable. I've never really had a decent experience at the seaside. I just like the arcades though. There is something nostalgic about the arcades and the smell of sugar donuts and fish and chips and ice cream. And they do look nice in the evening, despite how murky the water might be. But no, Skegness is probably was one of my favorites because of Fantasy Island and all the rides and stuff. I love the arcades. The biggest area in Central California, I see. Much more of a foresty woods type person. Like, oh, where is it we went? Apologies for the probably really poor pronunciation. We went to the... Let me Google it to make sure I'm... Is it Loch and Eileen? Is that where... I think that's where we went. That was a really nice place. Honestly, I was walking through the woods and it reminded me a lot of Hunt. I had a really nice time there. I'd like to live in a place like that too. That would be cool. I don't know. Woodsy girl. That's me. But I probably wouldn't mind a good beach. You know what I mean? As in like a really decent beach where, you know, the sand is not full of litter and the water looks habitable. Although I can't really go in seawater. The salt water scratches my legs. My skin is not suitable for it. We're gonna crowdfund a cabin in the woods for hell. You know what's funny? I wouldn't ask you to crowdfund the cabin if that was the case. I would ask you to crowdfund the internet lines they're gonna have to lay there to make sure I can still stream with a decent bit rate. The cabin would be the least of my problems. Eyeing it going north by this time next year? Not sure yet, I see. I can slap a wetsuit on you in the life preserver. Yeah, I'll just bring my life preserver. But no, the water has always been quite rough on my skin at the seaside. And it's always too cold to go in anyway. We can sort it out anyway, not. Donne-moi chérie. Qui c'est amant? I feel like a lot of my friends are in their Japan era of life. I think Faint and his partner came back from Japan and they didn't want to leave. They want to move there now. There we go, you pop them in there. I will, after plant, I will add them in then. Thank you. Weep phase. I mean, I get it. It's probably really different to some of the other stuff that we experience. My sister and her boyfriend took a day trip and he thought he could handle it and then the shrinkage wrecked them. What, in Japan? I have an affinity for Kazakhstan. Like, people have a weeb face. For me, I have a Scandinavian face. I just want to live in Norway. Norway looks fucking gorgeous. Oh, to the beach? I see. I see. A good friend of mine went through the Japan Faces 2024. So much that he speaks Japanese. Now I see. I get the appeal. It's probably not for me. I might enjoy like a week trip, maybe going to some of the more obscure, not to sound like a fucking pick-me, but the more obscure places, you know. Some sort of Ghibli-esque views rather than this actual city experience. Send it to Deer Island. No, send me to the cat one. Although I think the cat one has some very dark background, so... Fox Village or nothing. I'll take nothing. If I wanted to see a bunch of foxes, I could literally look outside. Oh wait, there were some more here that I didn't add. Oops. Sorry, Heinz. I'm in my I want to travel phase and still be a bit nomadic, but there's no way I could finance it right now. Yeah, traveling is... it's expensive. Mahjong gambling ring. What the hell? Gambling. Iceland and Greenland. Insert stereotypical Why is Iceland called Iceland and Greenland called Greenland if Iceland is green and Greenland is ice? You got me up in a spell. Can't wait for my trip in a week. Not for leisure, but for work. Are you gonna get to enjoy yourself a little bit at least? Darren Korb. Sorry, did I read that right? Darren Korb? Oh wait, no, that's never mind. It's never mind. These are bugged out. I was confused. I was like, wait, Darren Korb? It's because on my tab it said Darren Korb because this song that we're listening to. I was like, wait, they Darren worked on this? That's insane. Coincidence. Because it's funny. Visiting the US next year, you're gonna say hello to David and Winter. Alright, we'll pop the playlist on. I can listen to one of the songs now. Right, there we go. Okay. You're moving to Canada, remember? Oh, right. Yeah, you're doing that totally. I want to go to Asia, but not usual Asia type pick me. Who wants to see Kuala Lumpur or Hong Kong or Singapore? I didn't do my call balls. Are tiny selves killing each other? Yes, for 500 gold. So you can get drip. These are tourist traps. At least it's not in Beijing, Tokyo, or Bangkok. Like, I think the tourist traps get a lot of schlick, whatever you want to call it. I think it's okay to, you know, fall for a tourist trap every now and then, because that's like part of the experience of being a tourist, no? Oh, Stevie, congrats on your win. Enjoy your 500 gold. It's okay to enjoy something regardless of if it's a tourist trap or not. You know what? That's what I'm trying to say. Why? Can you leave, please? Oh, I unlocked your thing. I need to go and find you on the... Yeah, look, watch this. If I don't turn my FPS down, sometimes it won't work. Watch it work now. It did work. Okay, whatever. Ignore me. I don't know what I'm talking about. You want something? Yeah. Good work. Now time to do this fuck-ass shard where no one will fucking merge until the very end when I've done everything. Everyone is a winner in this chat. So, hear me out. Oh, fuck you. To have a winner, do you not have to have losers as well? Or are you just like a normal person, you know? Hello, Robbie. How's it going? His voice is my perfect medicine for anything that makes me feel stressed or depressed. That's good that you have something you can rely on like that then to make you feel a bit better. If I'm feeling ultra sad, there is a particular thing I will do. First off, I will watch Donkey's Mario 64 playthrough. Second off, because in that playthrough, he doesnn't finish it. He doesn't finish the game or the playthrough. It's fucking long since abandoned. In fact, I'm pretty sure he unlisted it. And now the only way you can watch it is through re-uploads. But at the start, he's like chilling and he's having a good time. And then halfway through, he gets a little depressed. He's like like a little sad, a little bit a bit depressed. So it's really sad to see. But at the end, Leah comes into his life, and then he's all happy again. And then he doesn't finish the playthrough, but that's okay because he's happy. And it just, I don't know, it makes me happy. The second thing I do is there's a OST from Maid-sama that just is, for some reason, it fucking fills my heart with joy. It's Misaki Junjo March. And it's a very cheery song that usually helps get me up. So I completely understand having those little things that just make you feel a bit better when you're not feeling so hot. Hello Boyka, how's it going? Oh my god. This is horrible! Where are my server merges? Why is there no one that can help me? Grandma is in fucking 10 minutes. And I can't do this fucking shit. Get over here. Let me grab that. Thank you. Hopefully this person can... This memory. I'm gonna like this. Thank you. How can someone win if winning means someone loses? It's hot today? It is. It's way too warm. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm getting my ass beat in the quote retweets, guys. This is the worst. No wonder it's 3.5 fucking candles. Come here. Thank you. Skindred, this is not. I think there might be some that I think Lychee might have put a few Skindred songs on this one, but this is Bloodywood, not Skindred. But I understand why you might think it's got that similar kind of sound, I suppose. But Bloodywood are amazing. You should check them out. This is the Bozo playlist. This is the stream playlist. So everything added in here, I've added a few songs, but it's mainly added by you guys, so... Oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind. Pick that up. It's a flying one and I have no energy. I'm gonna lose my mind. I get some from here. No, I can't. I'm gonna just eat shit. I'm going to eat complete shit. Oh, I know it's Bloodywood. I always pair them with Skindred on my own playlist because the vibes are the same. I get that then. I get that. Sorry for assuming. This is what I mean. No one's gonna fucking... I will... Alright, I need to lock in. And then immediately... I do the opposite. God. It's okay if I don't collect them. I think after like the third time it fucking disappears, it will solve itself. I wanted to do the sled race because Grandma is soon, but I don't know if we'll have time. There's so many flying rocks today. And still no one has server merged, by the way. There we go. It's only available with a doctor's prescription? Oh shit, she's on a premium diet then, huh? Right, maybe we have a little bit of time if someone... No one merged at all. Holy shit, never mind. We might not be able to do the race before Grandma. Servers are not merging when I need them to. Oh, my arm. Had a super appetite? That's good. It sounds like the medication is working well then. Just what you want to. Fine. I'll just leave. When it's chaos, it divides imagination. Ooh. Ooh. You arrived at Panic Station. Can I get a 10-20, please? Thank you for the lyric, Nordic. I appreciate it. Best of luck with your adult stuff. Dude, seeing this live was... Oh, here we go. This is probably one where I need to... Here. There we go. I told you, sometimes if the tent doesn't work, you just lower the frames and it works. Weird. When I saw this live, they played the music, like a weird music video for it. And I was like, what the fuck is this? You really want to see me as live? They're still together, right? They still tour. Honestly, I have not listened to a Muse song in a like recent one in a very long time, I feel like. I used to keep up with them a lot more. Now, not so much. I went on their second Law tour and they had a fire-breathing robot. It was fantastic. It was honestly a very good first concert experience because from a very young age, I have learned that the best kind of concerts are not where they just stand up on the stage and sing. It's the ones where they take the time to perform their songs. You know what I mean? Sabaton are another really good example of this. As much as I loved seeing Bullet and Trivium, and I suppose them doing a joint tour with, you know, 2 whole openers did mean that it was a little bit more kind of, you know, lacking stage presence-wise and actual performance-wise, but, you know, there's something special when you see how much effort they put into things like staging and... Yeah, Alice Cooper was another good example too, especially for his age. I was not expecting him to do all that. Mind you, that guy looks the same as he did like fucking 60 years ago. I will say it as I say it every time Alice Cooper is mentioned. That guy, he aged pretty fast, right? He aged pretty fast, but he's stuck with that age since, like, you know, he's looked 60 years old his whole life, you know what I mean? So... I need to do that. Hi, hello Fox, how's it going? It's going good, glad to hear it. But yeah, I would not, I would not blame you for wanting to see Muse live. Muse are really good. Ah, oh, it's warm. Hello, Normanton. How's it going? Let the gunshots ring. Does everyone want to say hello? That's a fancy bow. We did that at the same time. Too hot, I know, right? You know, it's funny. I can tell who else is like from the UK by what they say when they're first coming into the stream. It's been the same every fucking time. Too warm, too hot. It's very warm today. I've never felt more kind of affirmed, you know. I can take this off. I don't need this. I don't need to do that. Oops. In the spirit of it being too fucking hot, we can put on our I have a bunch of summer stuff from last year's Days of Summer. I have some sunglasses now too. This looks so stupid. Now let's wear the hat to keep our head protected. Okay, this is a new one. I haven't heard this one before. This might have been one of the ones I just added. What a banger. Oh, what the hell? This wax didn't burn. This has just been a one-off. I love these challenge memories. Thank God for their existence. I can't do a spin like that. But I can do this. I want to unlock those. Apparently one of the traveling spirits that has one of the spinning emotes is like... It's been like fucking 3 years since they were last here, so maybe they're due for a visit. Ugh. For 80 candles, you too can do a spin. Come on, what are you talking about? Are you a Skylarper? Emotes cost hearts. Well, I suppose except the new seasonal ones. Which is honestly even worse if you don't have alternate accounts to gift yourself hearts from. My bad. It's not serious, don't worry. Which is, it's nice, this spirit has only got the tier 2 of one of the friendship tree ones, so it's not the worst, you know? I'm really sad. I got the cape from... Alright, I forgot I need to do that. I got the cape from the traveling spirit, this one, and I thought it's a cool cape, but when the cape shows my arms, I like doing this pose, but it looks so stupid when you do that. Because when you zoom in here, it doesn't fit. It's... what is this? Why is this like this? It's hovering so high. It's the same with all of them like this. They don't shrink it to fit. YouTube is messing with ad blocker again. Oh, that's kind of annoying. Even Beshit wide. Oh my god, when I raided out on Thursday, I was panicking, by the way. I couldn't type in anyone's chat because of a 7TV update. I was like stressing. I was like, oh no, I'm being asked questions and stuff, but I can't fucking type. Hello Trashka, thank you for the 290 stream streak. How's it going? Take ages to load, and then it comes up with the experiencing issues or whatever, and it's like, yeah, and it's like, you probably have an ad block, buy YouTube Premium instead. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Driving is hard. Driving is easy. Just put your foot on the acceleration, and whenever you need to slow down, just ram into the barriers. That's what they're there for. Is there like a snow pile? What is this? There's just snow pile here. I wish. Oh my god, some shaved ice would go so hard right now. Shall I go on Amazon? One of those fucking kiddie shaved ice makers. Like I used to have one at my nana's house when I was younger. It was really shit and it didn't work. Hot 2? Yeah, it's too fucking warm. It's way too warm. Or get a bunch of those syrups and stuff. I remember those. It's just reminded me of the... Do you guys remember... I think this is a UK thing again. The golden... The chocolate golden coin maker. When it's actually like, oh no, it doesn't do that. It just puts the foil on them and that's it. You need to actually provide the chocolate. And you're like, oh, that's kind of shit. I never had one, but I remember looking at it wanting one. And then we'll see. Now, you know what? I probably don't even need to look at the children's toys section. It's probably... Ninja have probably made one, right? Ninja always makes those... Like, they made an ice cream machine. They probably got a shaved ice one as well. I know they made an ice cream machine because Block suggested one to my fucking wish list. So what the fuck am I going to do with an ice cream machine? Make ice cream? Are you kidding me? Insane? I remember the adverts, yeah. There were some classic adverts back in the day. Oh, Lally Kelly, the cutest shoes, oh yeah. Lally Kellys, they are so cool, oh yeah. Alright, move out of the way, let me hug Grandma, thank you. Did you guys know I voiced the lady who did the jingle for the Lally Kellys in the adverts? Never had a pair of Lally Kellys. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't. Those shoes look fucking painful. Tutorial time. Gonna need to update your IMDb page. What if I actually made one? What if I made one and I made it into like a pop-up that comes up on a command? And someone types like exclamation mark AMBD. It just slides down. Flash bangs the screen. Feel like a chunky fucker eating a whole ass 2 kg watermelon. Don't. Yesterday I ate a melon platter. I mean, I had pineapple too, I suppose, but I ate a primarily I'll just fucking fly. Primarily melon platter, and I looked at the calorie intake, and bro, it was like 850 grams. It was like 100 calories. I was like, oh my god, this is great, because it's just water. He just started taking notes on everything you voiced. Honestly, I just say shit I've completely forgotten. Unless it's a reoccurring one, like Balloon Boy, whenever I'm like saying hello and hi and whatnot. I'm chugging this melon. Yeah, it's just like fucking 90% water, so there's like no calories, but it just tastes really good. Don't feel bad. I feel like compared to other fruits, it's not got that many sugars in it either. I tried my my apple core today. It works pretty well, which is nice. I've been making it a habit to try and eat before stream. Because the past few times when I stream, I'm too tired to eat, and I end up just like laying down, and it's like, ugh. But the last time I did that, I was like shaking when I was trying to make food, and I was like, this is not good. I should just eat before stream. But sometimes, well, most of the time, I'm just not hungry, and then I feel a bit sick for eating. Yeah, I know I need to eat. I don't mean to like worry anyone with my fucking poor ass habits. I'm very well aware they're not something I should be like. I hope I'm not. Doesn't seem like I'm gloating about them in any way or fishing for sympathy or something like that. But It's just how it is, but I've gotten into the habit of eating before a stream now, so there is no need for anyone to worry. Always take a break during stream? Yeah, there's that too. I have done that before sometimes. On the odd occasion, maybe I don't have time to eat before a stream. I was considering maybe I could end stream a little bit earlier on those days as well then, so I can eat before then, because the other problem is if I do eat very late, then it is encouraging some pretty poor digestive habits. Because if I try to force myself, I go lay down and stuff to try and get some rest, that's basically inviting GERD into my home with arms wide open. You forget to eat for 2 days on a regular. It's not the best sometimes when you you know, especially if it can be quite out of your control. If it ever got that bad for me, I would personally try to start setting alarms. Alarms usually help me a lot with regulating, oh, I need to do this or do that. I have an alarm for my medication, for example, because I will forget to take all of my medication if I don't have a fucking alarm, which is not great. So, oh, the turtle just fucking right on spawned. Let's go. So yeah, it sucks sometimes when you have these issues where you're like, it's a bit out of your control, but I try my best to find ways to help, you know, solutions and whatnot. I don't know how many of you guys have Apple products, phones or whatever, but is it true like silent alarms are a thing? People have been complaining a lot recently that their alarms have not been going off. They have been going off, but they've been completely silent despite not being instructed to be silent. I also use notepads, but like on the computer notepads. Hello Art, how's it going? That did happen to me this week. Really? That's crazy. Maybe we need to go back to the old-fashioned alarm clock. Missed work one day because of that. Anyone else you know been experiencing similar problems? I hope they weren't too harsh on you for it. Thanks for self-care, Jack. I don't use Apple products where I can help it. The only Apple product that I own is my overpriced web camera, and it is just a refurbished XR because it is it's not the, I think there's a one model below that also supports VBridger, but a lot of people told me to get the XR because it's better for the price comparison. I did consider that you know, one day if I do ever have the extra funds, I will probably upgrade the iPhone to something better, because I have seen people do comparisons of certain things when it comes to tracking, but it's not that big of a deal for me to warrant needing it like ASAP right now. So it's more of a, if I ever have the funds and want to upgrade some of my equipment, it will probably be my monitors and then maybe even a bigger Stream Deck and then probably the iPhone. Your team leader already did the same? That's so fucked up. Honestly. That happened to my dad. He has an Android phone. Oh, it's never happened to me on Android. At least I think not. I just assume that if I have crashed out and I end up sleeping through my alarms on my phone, it's because like I really needed the rest or whatever. How close are we to Gray? You did something to your back? Oh no. Oh, we don't even need to do the full race. We can just like go pick flowers or something. Or are there any other cakes I can think of? I suppose let's go pick flowers. Even better eating health tracking? Yep, pretty much. Like, the difference has been that noticeable for enough for me to go, you know, that's a thing I can consider in the future. Right now, I'm pretty content with all of my hardware. So, like, you know, very grateful that I have the hardware to begin with and the fact that I'm able to use it to do these things. So this is just more of a, you know, if I ever came into it situation. Reaper from Mass Effect. Reaper sound from Mass Effect? I don't know what that is. But for the longest time, my high school alarm used to be Tribute by Tenacious D. Fuck, we're a little bit off. It's fine, I know where there is. Somewhere we can get some more wax. I was sleeping with my headset for the initial days because of Little Hell, and the alarm plays both on the headset and on the phone. It'd be impossible for me not to listen to it, I see. It's pretty concerning that it's happening to people, honestly. Listeners going deaf, that is also a possibility, though. You could be going deaf. I love playing music in here because of the echo. A mechanoid klaxon. Oh, that sounds very loud. You know what? This was perfectly timed. Holy shit, I'm like about to get gray and we're ready for them. Oh, that reminds me, I probably should do this before then. It's okay, Art. Me too. An octogenarian when the pain kicks in. What? Like father, like son, basically, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Octogenarian. And we're gray. Ba-boom. $94 candles. Someone between 80 and 89 years old. Oh, I see. Yeah, but grunting when you do things is just fun, honestly. Let's be real. And you're like getting up and you're going, you know, you're getting up and you're making noises. It's just for the entertainment. Will I have enough? Oh, it tells you how long left in the corner. Okay, yeah, if I do a candle run tomorrow, I will, even if I did like 15 candles, I would be good. That's fine. And then I will be broke. Fantastic. Alright. Ah, phenomenal. There's always a study at House to Swear. I remember watching the Brainiac episode of that, the pain tolerance. And when they swore, it was like they were able to tolerate more pain or whatever. So I remember that. Study, yeah. Alright, so... Ugh, I just heard myself twice. That is going to be it for me today. I am, we voted on a shorter stream, so after I'm away to end, we are going to go and watch a Grand Tour special in the Discord, so if you'd like to join for that, you're free to. If you don't want to, that's fine. That's completely okay. They usually last about an hour and a bit, sometimes. We'll see. Because if it's a two-parter, we usually watch both, but yeah. However, even though I'm ending stream right now, if you could stick around for just a wee bit longer, as always, I would like to raid out into someone because it makes their day seeing your faces in their chat, and you get some channel points as well. Brock is actually streaming today because he didn't stream yesterday. So I think he's streaming today. Instead, he's going to be doing some Assassin's Creed Black Flag, so you can go say hello to Brock for me. So yeah. Thank you so much for coming today. I don't do raid messages, really. But if you'd like to pop a hello in the chat, maybe ask him how he's doing. And I'm sure he's gonna be like, wow, it's so warm. Or whatever. That would be great. I'm sure he'd really appreciate the conversations. Just be on your best behavior, please. And thank you. I will be there. I will be lurking. I will be watching. So if anyone is a shithead, do not expect to be welcomed back into the stream. All right. But thank you guys so much for coming today. I hope you had an enjoyable time. It was a bit more of a chill day. It's just warm. This is how it's probably going to be a bit more often. It's just a bit warm. So we just take it easy. We take it as it comes and whatnot. Yeah, no worries. Alright, so, I do have every intention of streaming tomorrow. I don't know what we'll be doing, but if anything changes ahead of time, I will let you know in the Discord as soon as possible. But thank you so much for coming today. Thank you to my chatters. Thank you to my lurkers. Thank you for taking the time to stop by. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. You guys have a lovely rest of your morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take plenty good care of yourselves. Try your best as always. Keep cool. And if I don't see you in the watch along, then I will hopefully see you tomorrow, okay? Okay. All right, bye-bye.